ESPN Sports. This is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the Grizz Insider here on the Montana Television Network. Alongside the voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen, and it's a sweep for the Montana Grizzlies men's basketball team, but a sweep on the weekend for the Grizz and the Lady Grizz over the rival Montana State Bobcats.
Yeah, there were some good vibes in Dahlberg Arena, Kyle, on Saturday. That you have that combined point total as well, that both games there was no doubt, especially in the second half, that I think maybe some years of frustration were taken out as well. We know this being in this state a while, right? That the pendulum switches in this rivalry from years to years into eras, and it just felt like this year that the Montana teams, and especially here the back half of the year, they were ready to go.
And they were due for it, right? Especially after all the success MSU's had the last couple of years. You knew it was going to kind of turn the tide a little bit. And let's start with the Lady Grizz. They felt they owed MSU one, right? Like going into that game in Bozeman, everybody looked at Montana and was like, hey, they should win this game. MSU's very dinged up this year. They've had a ton of injuries and a lot of new faces. And so they got it back, right? They got to come back to 2016-17. Bobcats 13-2 going into this game. So it's really kind of that aura, and they have to kind of buck that trend, and they did that on Saturday.
They did, and I think for the Lady Grizz to move forward, right, as a program, number one, they have to get back on the right side of the state's rivalry.
Yes.
And Tricia Binford's done such a good job at Montana State during their run the last couple of years, but I think it goes without saying, the Lady Grizz feel like they have more talent this year, right? And they were frustrated with how they played over in Bozeman, weren't quite themselves. I think, Kyle, that before we get into any of the X's and the O's and who started in that game, it was the mental hurdle, I think, and the Lady Grizz were able to do that, got rid of some demons, and they did it because that was a blowout win, 72-50. We'll talk a lot about the offense, but the defense was phenomenal. I know Coach Holsinger, he's been preaching that for all year long. His team certainly showed out.
Stepped up when the lights were brightest for sure, and kind of got over that hump, especially going into the latter half of February. So let's talk players, right? Dani Bartsch, I mean, what can you say about her? In my opinion, firmly in the league MVP conversation after this performance. But then you have Gina Markson, another veteran, step up, and you have a lot of these other players kind of step up. Macy Heward, tough game in Bozeman, big game on Saturday.
Well, and you just see the growth right away. That's just 1 month ago. To see that from now, Macy Heward is the ultimate X factor, I think, because so much talent. You're starting to see, right, freshmen this time of year, they become sophomores, and Macy really was impactful, even though it might not look like it on her stat line. Defensively, she was all over the place. Dani Bartsch, she's just on a different level right now. It's so cool to see, especially the Helena product, able to do that double-double machine. But not only that, Kyle, I think the rebounding, everyone might have expected at least a little bit of production there. The three-point shooting from Dani Bartsch this year has been so incredible. And the Lady Grizz now the #1 three-point shooting team in the country. They passed Utah last week. So everything was flowing there, and the Bobcat defense had been really good. So I just thought it was a complete team effort, and you could go down the list and pick out a lot of good individual performances.
And pivoting over to the men's game now, right? So they're coming off the win in Bozeman, so a lot of momentum for the Grizz, and kind of felt like the Grizz of old in that regard. But set the tone early, in my opinion, with Laulu Oki's rebounding, right? They were physical, they were tough. I believe had 10 more rebounds in the first half than the Bobcats. Close game at first, but then second half was just kind of a runaway.
It really was, and I think there was one possession early on in the first half where the Grizz got 4 offensive rebounds, 3 of them, I believe, by Laulu Oki, and it kind of set the tone right there. The Grizzlies threw the first punch. They got everybody behind them, and I feel that senior class was really able to show their experience. That was the final time that at least all of them together will get Montana State at home. So you just felt that one meant a little bit more, and I think that you found the formula for the Grizzly men. If they're going to have success down the road, it's going to take that kind of effort, that kind of performance for them to win.
One more thing, what can you say about Anand Moody? I mean, just the guy shows up in the brightest lights, and you can just tell he lives for these rivalry games. What a performance by him.
What a performance, and I think there were goosebumps throughout all of Dahlberg Arena when you heard the first Anand Moody chants of the night. And you're right, he's ready for the big stage. And Kyle, this is the time of year, we're going to talk about it with both coaches. It's crunch time. This is what all of these players have played for. It's been a long career for Anand Moody. He's going to play his best down the stretch.
It's going to be an exciting couple of weeks as we lead up to the Big Sky Conference tournament in Boise. And don't go anywhere. We have a great show coming your way. And up next, Riley is going to catch up with head coach Travis DeCure to break down the win over the Bobcats.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. A nice weekend here in Missoula as the Grizz complete the sweep. Combined win total by 41 points. Time to talk Grizzly basketball now with head coach Travis DeCure. And Coach, what was maybe one of the first couple of emotions that you had Saturday after that scoreboard finally went final? You complete the season sweep. What were some of the thoughts that went through your mind?
Satisfaction, and it really wasn't about winning. It was the way the guys played. It was what we put into the week. the things we discussed, small groups, the team as a whole, to see them go out and execute the things that we talked about meant a lot in terms of our potential growth. And what we're capable of.
How much did you strip it back throughout the course of the week and focus on yourselves? Because it's the point in the season, right? I mean, the dog days of February, sometimes we call it. You're getting ready for the stretch run. It was probably nice that you only had one game to worry about. Yes, a big one. But at the same time, how much did you worry about yourself, strip it back, and really worry about your team this week?
Probably 90% of the week. We showed some film of ourselves on Thursday, but it wasn't really Friday until we actually addressed the scout. We didn't do a walkthrough until game day because we just felt that we were on our own way in terms of where we want to be. We just need to play harder, we need to play better, we need to be more together. And our team has great chemistry. When I say together, just how you play defensively and how you play offensively. There's some decisions and things that we have or haven't made because we just have had some trust issues. We're not a great defensive team. And when you struggle defensively, it's usually individual defensive players. And so what ends up happening is a lot of times you fend for yourself out there, and we just had to get out of that.
Well, it seemed like in game one over in Bozeman, a 10-point win, it was balance and depth that was on display. You had 5 guys in double figure scoring to where Jackson Knapp career high 17. Tajon Sawyer was really impactful off the bench. This time around, it was about your starters. It was about your seniors, 83 of your 88 points. Can you just talk about that collective group? We've mentioned it throughout the course of the year. It's very special and unique, Coach, that you have so much experience from your starting 5. But how much did you lean on them in that game? And just the way that they all performed, but all performed well together?
A lot. Our versatility is our strength. We knew they weren't going to let us throw the ball in the post. There's an adjustment to be made. They're not going to just let us throw the ball into Tajon over and over or Deshaun. In the past, watching them through the year, they send their guards a lot. They come down, and they did that early. Knowing that, we just felt it was best to spread the floor out, which moving Deshaun to the 5 was advantageous. And then with the penetration, we knew they would come. And we could find shooters if we just came to stops in the paint, which we did that.
Well, Coach, you've been here a while, and I mean that in the best of ways, because now 14 wins against the Cats. We talked about it in postgame. You tie Blaine Taylor now at 14-4 against Montana State. And I know there's a lot of program goals that you have with your team, but to sweep the Cats obviously is one that is so important to the fan base in the state. So I guess 2 questions into one. Number 1, how important is it to get that sweep each year? And number 2, to tie Blaine Taylor with an identical record?
Well, you want to return the favor. I made a statement at the pep rally that it's been a little messy and we had some cleaning up to do. And the reality is that this matters a lot to Montana. We know that. It means a lot to our community and our department, and we got to do our part. And there have been some years where we were sweeping them, and to get swept doesn't feel great, even though there's some circumstances to it. I don't know that first home game last year was earned the way it should be, but we felt we needed to return the favor, and I was just happy the guys jumped out and performed.
Well, in 10 years as the head coach, 6 sweeps of Montana State. Now let's take the big picture view. Your team is in a battle right now. It seems that the top 4 in the Big Sky have really separated from everybody else. The true contenders in the league are going for a 20-win season right now, 17 at the point. So just take us through kind of your thoughts on where your team is at as you really do now enter the stretch run of the regular season.
I think we're in a good spot. Mentally, I think we're in a good spot in terms of the standings and games to play. I wouldn't say great. I think that there's still some growth. I think there's still some room for us to improve. And if you want to win in Boise, you need to find areas to continue to get better going into that weekend. And we're still tinkering and working on some things. We need to be a bit deeper than we are right now. But I feel good about where we're at. I think that our intent is in the right place. I think everyone in the locker room wants to impact winning in their own special ways. We just all need to show up on the same night.
A lot to play for here for the Grizz. They enter the stretch run of the regular season. Up next, Sacramento State and Portland State here this weekend. On the other side of the break, we'll switch gears and talk Lady Grizz basketball with Kyle Hansen and Brian Wilson.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider, and we're excited to be joined by Lady Grizz head coach Brian Holsinger. Brian, coming off the victory Saturday, how did it feel to get another one against the Bobcats?
Always good to beat the Cats. Always. It just doesn't matter if, when, how, what, however you can do it. And it was really good because of how we played there. And it really showed, in my opinion, how far we've come as a team.
Mm-hmm. When you look at that too, Brian, it's like I kind of felt the same thing. You guys jump out to the early lead. MSU chips away a little bit, right? And they have some moments here and there. You guys go into halftime leading by by 9. But it seems like your team's resolve was there, especially in the second half where you didn't let them back in. You kind of came out in the second half and put them away.
Yeah, the whole goal is to learn from experiences, and what we experienced over there. We go out into this big lead, and they start to make a run. I think we tightened up and then didn't play right. And so, you could hear them in the huddles after the first quarter where we have the lead, or in the second quarter where we have the lead, and they start to make a little bit of runs. Like, hey, it's fine, we're good. And those moments only happen when you go through the adversity that you do. And so it was neat for us to see our team play really, in a lot of ways, a really complete game.
And ultimately, it felt like a tale of two halves, where you had Dani Bartsch come out hot in the first half and Gina Markson helped put it away in the second half. So what can you say about the performance of those two couple of veterans who were able to kind of help spearhead you both halves and really put this one away?
Yeah, I mean, Gina's been fantastic. I mean, she's top 10, I think, in the country in assist to turnover ratio. She makes great decisions, and now she's really shooting the ball well now. And so, I mean, we're known for our shooting, but it was really good for our team to develop. I mean, you see Dani's, goes from being a rebounder, goes to being kind of a playmaker, to being a three-point shooter, and now she's taking people off the dribble and going to score. So she's starting to develop a complete game. But none of that happens without Carmen in the middle and all the attention focused on her. And so I think people miss that. It's like, yeah, she didn't get any shots in the first half. Well, she created all these other shots for people because they were all worried about her in the post. And so, I think for us, those two were catalysts, but you can't forget some of the other people for sure.
And, now you've played in this game. This is your 6th time seeing this game, 2nd win over the Bobcats. Just how can you describe kind of the euphoria of beating a rival like that, especially here in Missoula?
Yeah, it's funny. You never realize in Montana how big this game is. It's almost like you could be in last place, and if you beat the Cats, it's fine. Everything's good. I'm like, wow. But it means a lot to the state, and for a long time, it means a lot to our alumni. Our alumni came into our locker room afterwards, and they were really excited about it. And I came from the outside, and so it's always a good reminder to me how important it is. And we obviously want to win every game, but it definitely means a little more.
Boise's a little over 2 weeks away now. You got 5 games left on the regular season schedule. So how do you kind of harness this momentum? Because you guys have been playing well lately. You've had a couple of bumps here and there. Had a close one with NAU. But then you look at just where the team's at right now. How do you harness this momentum going forward and get ready for the conference tournament? Yeah,
I mean, I think for us, we just got to continue. We'll come down off the high of this weekend, and we'll do that in practice for sure. They'll understand what's going well and what's not still, and how much we need to continue to improve. And then you got to go on the road with a team at Sac State. Our first game there that has won, like, I don't know, 4 of the last 6 or something like that, or 3 of the last 6, and so they're on a roll, and we got to go down there, and you got to play well on the road, and we've been good and bad on the road. And so our goal is just to keep playing consistent, keep the momentum going into Boise in March.
Between the last time you saw the Bobcats to now, where do you feel like this team's grown the most as the season's gone on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've definitely improved defensively. I mean, we have gotten better and better and better defensively of just doing the right thing. So here's our game plan. How many mistakes do you make within that game plan? How accurate can you be within the game plan defensively? And so we've improved in that area for sure. We also have an offensive identity of being able to shoot the 3. I mean, we shoot the 3 as good as anybody in the country. One of the top couple, I think, for sure, statistically speaking. And so that combined with our defense continuing to improve, I think we really know who we are, and now we just need to continue to grow, but also accentuate those areas.
I believe ranked number 1 actually in the country in 3-point percentage after Saturday. So pretty good.
Awesome.
Passing Utah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And these next couple of weeks, in the last few years, Brian, how much have you noticed these last few weeks? How much they set up for Boise? Have you noticed any trend or anything like that in these final weeks?
I mean, I think for us, we have 5 games, which is quite a few still. I mean, every game you just kind of take each game. It's cliche, but you just kind of take each game for what it is. Focus on this one. As a staff, we look ahead a little bit more, but for the players, we try to keep them humble, keep them growing, keep them getting better. Stay healthy is a huge key. We've been banged up off and on, and so trying to keep the girls healthy, but being really sharp at the same time.
Thanks so much for your time, Brian. Good luck the rest of the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Absolutely. And on the other side of the break, we'll catch up with Lady Grizz forward, Dani Bartsch.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. And I'm excited to be joined by junior forward Dani Bartsch of the Montana Lady Grizz, the product of Helena Capital High School. Dani, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are we feeling after Saturday?
Haven't quite come down off the high yet, but I'm sure that will come at practice today when we watch film. But it's just exciting. There's a lot more to be done.
They'll absolutely find a way to humble you at practice. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
So walk us through the game itself, right? So obviously they took the first round in Bozeman when you played Montana State. You get them back in this go-around, and it was only the 3rd time the Lady Grizz have won this game since the 2016-17 season, 2nd time in your career. So just what's it like to kind of win this rivalry game and just kind of see some of those works from the first meeting to now pay off?
It was huge. I mean, a big thing coming into it was like, yeah, we want to get back to that winning feeling, you know. We don't want to fall right back into where there's multiple games and years of just not winning. I mean, stay super competitive no matter what. The emotions are going to be high. Even if one team's having a better or worse season, that game's always going to be hard. It's just the emotions of it. Everyone just, I feel like, tries harder, for lack of better terms, but it's just like a lot more grit goes into that game, I feel like, than others.
Feels like the resiliency has to be there too, right? Because kind of a little bit of a similar trajectory where like you guys jump out to a big lead, MSU maybe chips away a little bit, makes it a 9-point game by halftime, but then in the second half you're able to blow it away. So what was different about this game versus the last one where you were able to take that lead and then run with it?
We knew it wasn't going to come easy. We knew that they're not going to have any let up. Some teams you can get up 21 right away and they're just going to fold. Montana State obviously did not do that in the first game, and so we knew that they weren't going to just go away and die, you know, the second half especially. So we just got to come out and, you know, keep our foot on the gas.
As someone who's from this state, just what's it been like playing in these games, right? Because this is your third year experiencing it now, and I just imagine each year, does it build the excitement or does it feel more surreal? I guess, what's it been like in your experience playing in these games?
I think people are more familiar with, like, just me because I've been there for so long. So like I get a lot more like texts before games and stuff like saying good luck. And I mean, my whole family, I think I took like a family picture of like 20 of us after the game. So it's just huge for my whole family to be able to come up and support. And yeah, it's just awesome to have such a huge community support.
Huge deal, obviously, for you and the team. So let's talk about your progression this season, Dani, because we saw you break out a little bit last year. Obviously, your rebounding and defense have kind of been your staples since you've been here, and last year you cracked the starting lineups, but this year the scoring has just completely taken off, and I just feel like you've taken your game to a different level. So what about this junior season has clicked for you and worked so you've been able to be such a huge asset for the Lady Grizz?
Coming into the season, Brian really put an emphasis on my three-point shot. He's like, you really got to get this more consistent, get your numbers up for us. And so I really worked on that. And then beginning of the season kind of found it, was shooting pretty well. And then just as the season's gone on, he just told me to be more aggressive. And I mean, my teammates make it easy. If they don't have to all guard in on Carmen or Gina or Maggie on the corners, or our point guards are super aggressive, everyone across the board can score. So like no team can just camp on one person. And so I mean, it opens up the floor a ton for me to be aggressive.
As you kind of mentioned off camera, weren't a big three-point shooter in high school. So what was it like kind of, I guess, growing in that game, right? Because you did it pretty good last year. We could see it a little bit, but this year it seemed like you took off right away. What was it like kind of growing in that facet of the game, because it's such a big part of today's college basketball?
Yeah, my high school shot, just once the three-point line moved back, I couldn't quite get it there even. And so Nate Harris, one of our assistant coaches, worked on my shot a ton one summer. I mean, every summer we just work on our shot mechanics, everything like that. And so just getting it smooth, faster, you know, it's just getting more confidence in it.
For you, just how special has it been to maybe see that work pay off and see this junior year as you continue to break out? Because each year you've clearly gotten better with this program, but this year, you know, you're just playing at a different level, a very high level. Just how much has that meant to you to see it all pay off? Yeah, it's very rewarding. I mean, I think I'd be pretty bummed if I put in a lot of work and I wasn't getting, you know, any like reward out of it. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm happy that my team can depend on me, and I'm gonna keep trying not to force it and just take it as it comes. But you know, it's great. 5 games left in the regular season for the Lady Grizz. Dani, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And coming up, Riley will rejoin me as we look ahead to the future games for the Grizz and the Lady Grizz.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. And Riley, Boise is just, believe it or not, just a couple of weeks away, and big games this week for both Montana programs.
Absolutely. It's crunch time in the regular season. Both teams jockeying for positioning right now. They're taking on Sacramento State, Portland State. Most important, Kyle, not to have a letdown, right? After the rivalry game, that's just that natural instinct. So both teams will challenge themselves to do it. Lady Grizz will go on the road. We'll see if the men can take care of business here at home. Both big-time opportunities. There's some games around the conference we'll keep our eye on, but we'll see. Should be a massive weekend for both teams.
Big games coming up. Conference tournament's almost here. Cannot wait. It's going to be an absolute blast down in Boise, and we will have a show in a couple of weeks to preview that as well. So thanks so much for joining us here on the Grizz Insider, and have a great night.